Hi everybody, this is Yoda Taco, and I was going to do a write-up review of one of the D&D paint sets, the Nolzur's Marvelous Pigments Adventure paint set from Army Painter, and I thought, you know what, why don't I just make a video of it instead? It might be a little bit more expressive. So what I did is I bought the paint set and decided to paint the miniature that comes with it with only those paints from that paint set to see how it worked, how I like the Army Painter paints. And it came with an Army Painter brush, just kind of a basic brush here. You'll see right here the Dungeons and Dragons starter brush. Not a bad brush, keeps a decent tip on it. It's not going to be, your fancy, sable brush, but it got the job done. So I used pretty much just that brush. I've used only the paints in the set, and I'll show you those here in a minute. I painted the miniature that came with the set, and the only thing that I stepped outside of any of those products was the wash that I put on the paint, on the mini. That was just simply to give it a good wash, give it, some depth. I was not necessarily, with the paints that came in the set, I was not necessarily able to do some of the shading techniques that I would like. So just a wash, just give it a quick wash, just to make it kind of pop there. As far as my experience with it, we'll get there, but I wanted to kind of show you what was in the set. So I already showed you the brush. It came with one metallic paint, mithril silver, and 10 other regular paints. It came with pretty much a basic white paint, lawful white, a basic black paint, abyssal black, a gray primer. I did use this as the primer, just to kind of step through the. I've been painting for a few years, but I wanted to see what the experience was like getting the kit and painting it as if I didn't have any other paints, and that was the one thing that I bought to try and paint. So I did prime it with the gray primer. I'll make some comments on this primer here in a minute. The Bugbear Brown, actually pretty decent brown. I like that color actually. The Flump Pink, which is their kind of flesh tone pink. Not too bad. Kraken Blue, it's a pretty good blue. Actually quite thin. So it takes a couple coats. I'll go into that in a minute. Trent Green, I didn't really use this color, so I can't really say much about it. The Angelic Yellow, also didn't use that color very much, actually at all. I don't believe. And the Dragonfire Red. This is a pretty nice red. It's very. I wouldn't call it poppy, but it's very balanced, kind of just your basic in the middle red. So those are all the paints it came with. And so let's look at the miniature a little bit here. So I'll try and get it closer and a little bit better view here. I didn't try to do anything crazy, just kind of basically paint it, just painted it as basic as possible. It's not a bad miniature. It's got some kind of some I don't want to say issues, but some there's some areas where the detail isn't as great, things like that. But not a bad miniature to come with the set and to paint. It was quite fun to paint, actually. So as you can see, I used a lot of the metallics. The metallic is actually quite nice. It's probably a little thicker pigment than some of your other super high quality metallics, but not a bad metallic. It showed up pretty well. You can see this blue. This blue is actually very nice. It comes out really decently. It's not too overly dark, and it's not one of those like blues that kind of wash out. So it's actually pretty good blue. The brown you can see on the boots there, and a couple various other places. I actually kind of like that brown. It's pretty decent. It covers quite well. It's, I guess, a little bit lighter than like a Citadel Mournfang brown, but decent coverage. I could deal with a better flesh tone. The flesh tones came out okay. However, they're very, very peachy, and getting almost to an orange tinge, if you will. However, still a decent flesh tone. Not it doesn't. There's no issues with it, and not a bad flesh tone for your starter set of paints. The red, as you can see, the wash got a little away from me there, but the red, as you can see, is quite a decent red. It's even coverage, kind of coats well, and shows up well. Overall, I'd say as far as a set to start with, like a starter set, can't complain per se. Some of the colors could be a little better. Like I would prefer like a little more tones down as far as their representation of the flesh color there. But pretty good. Like if you're looking for a small basic set, and you're looking to start painting miniatures, or even if you just want to try, like say you don't have any army painter paints and you want to try them out, see what they're like, not a bad set to get, and let you experiment with it. It's, how shall I say, a very experienced painter that's got a lot of different paints and's tried army painter paints, probably not the set for them. But I mean, that's almost goes without saying. It's a base set, so unless you're just picking it up to do a review or picking it up to experiment, or maybe as a gift to someone who's already got a ton of paints, is probably not going to pick this up. The only other slightly disappointing thing that I'll say is that the bottles are 12 mil. They are not your army painter standard. They're not a 17 or an 18 mil bottle. They're just 12 mil. Not a big problem for someone who's just starting out painting. I'm just starting into miniature painting. It's a decent compromise, I'll say, for not having a giant bottle of paint that if I pick up miniature painting and decide I don't like it, this is not my thing, then now I have just all this paint to, what am I gonna do with it? So even though that's kind of a gripe I have with it, it's not a bad gripe, honestly, for someone who's going to be picking this up. I think I grabbed it for $22 to $24, something like that, on Amazon. And I'll probably post the link to the video below. And if you want it, then I'd say definitely check it out. The colors are decent. The coverage is not too bad. They're thin enough to be decent miniature paints, and the colors are good enough to, even if you do have a plethora of paints, the colors can be pretty good basic colors. So just say, oh, I just need this basic green, let me use this. Couple of coats of that, and not a bad experience. So there you go. So that's it. That's your basic D&D Nolzur's Marvelous Pigments Adventure set. pick it up if you want to start painting miniatures and you've never tried it. Can't go wrong with it, I'd say. All right, thanks.